So here we are, back in Witcher 3 for another video. So again, we go over the checklist, the age of the game, 9 to 8 years old, 9 to 10 years old. The platform, I'm playing this on PC Steam, which means that it's because it's PC, I can ramp up the graphics more. Players, it's a single player style, slower paced storytelling game. So a lot of time taken on the visuals, and the graphics for back in the day, realistic. Let's call it. Okay, so we're in Novigrad. We've already looked at foliage in Skellige, but I'm going to look at Novigrad for the environments because it's a bit of a mishmash of a few different styles. It's quite English. It's quite European, like French, German kind of mixture. It might be a little bit Polish as well, because obviously this is a. It's not just a Polish game. It's a game which is using a lot of the Eastern European history and law to kind of govern its writing. Okay, so where to start off? So I've started off in Novigrad, or I'm looking in Novigrad because it's a built-up area. So there's a lot of things happening. I'm just going to turn the volume down because that might get a little bit distracting. A lot of people talking at me. There you go. So we're in Novigrad, like I said, and the reason I chose this is because there's a lot of things in the city for us to look at. And also a lot of things that we might be able to find. Even I might not have found them yet, but things that I might be able to like discover by looking at it. So I'm going to start off with probably the simplest, the ground, the roads I'm looking at here. And now they've probably had some kind of in-engine pathing system, so that they're not actually manually placing in blocks of roads, but rather if we try to treat this gutter at the middle of the road here like an example, they'll have this road piece as a piece of geometry that's already been pre-made, and they would have done some kind of just like with the landscape we were just looking at, they probably have some kind of like hard landscape underneath here which says, okay, we're going higher here, we're going lower here, it's flatter here, there's a little bit of a, they've used the landscape to govern what goes up, what goes down. But what they've probably done is to make this road look very windy, because obviously a lot of these roads, if you look at Roman roads, old city roads, if you ever go to York and you look at like Shambles, which is a street in York which actually influenced Diagon Alley in Harry Potter. I think they might have filmed there as well, actually. You'll see that none of it is straight. It's all wibbly wobbly because it was all made by hand, literally by hand. So what they've probably done here, again I'm assuming, is they've got the landscape, so they know where they're going. They've got an idea. They might have like some placeholders of paths, and then they've set up like a spline system. They've set a spline system up where they can basically say, right, I'm going to put a spline going to here, and then the spline's going to go down there, and then they basically attach geometry to it. And that geometry is this road right here. Now I'm looking at the road, and let's see if we can see this if we take the camera out. Look at the ground, right? It's really obvious in some places, it's not very obvious in other places. But boom, that's what I'm looking for. So you see how you've got a texture seam. So remember back to that Destiny, we were finding seams everywhere. Look at that, you got a seam right in the middle there. But it looks like it's a texture deformation. So in some parts, the texture actually lines up perfect. Like here, it lines up perfectly. I can't see a texture seam. I can see, if I'm looking carefully, I can see geometry. It's very wobbly. This is stuff we're going to talk about in a little bit, actually, so that's a good point to look at, actually. But we can see here that the texture seams don't quite line up. Something's happening in the middle there. Oh, that's what it is right there. Okay, yeah. Anyway, they probably set up a spline which they govern the paths of stuff, and then they make the paths with it. And then they basically start to populate the paths with, runners, leaves, crap on the ground, rocks that apparently defy gravity. There's a rock there that's floating. Let's see what happens at an intersection. So what happens over here? Okay. Okay, bit cheeky. I like it. So they've got an obvious texture seam there. So possibly if we look from the top, so just above Geralt's head there, I can definitely see a texture seam. And I'm kind of trying. So I'm going to. I'm trying to break the game to see if it'll start to load in or load out. There we go. Oh, there's another one right there as well. Ah, okay. So it looks like this section here, so the road basically ends here. I think I can see a texture seam here, but the road basically ends here, and then curves around. So it ends there, curves around to there, because I got another texture seam there. Okay, so it's just that bit. Again, that might be set up with a curve or something to follow that part of the path. But then I'm also seeing... So you're seeing here where the texture seam ends across there. It also ends there, or at least they've put a brick texture there to help, basically help cover up possibly a very nasty seam. They've got kind of like a bit of a brick section there, hiding something. Okay, so maybe these paths here, this is possibly doing something similar where it's a pre-set up thing that they use a spline to follow the other spline with. I don't know. Again, I'd love to see the way that this game was made. And then they'll bring stuff in like this water, which, if you've seen the foliage video, be prepared for that bug to appear. They might have a little plane with a water material applied to it that is placed under, or this might actually be water, like the water body. I think there might be a water body that sits underneath the entire thing, possibly, because there is a lot of water in the game. Okay. It seems like we end it, so it seems like we're starting another type of road, but possibly doing the exact same thing. So just at my feet there, it seems like we end the road, but we're kind of covering up with a transitional piece of something. So this really, it's like a mica or something. Yeah, so I bet the end, this road, ooh, what was that? Come back. I can't make that happen again, can I? This road will possibly turn downwards slightly to have this road on top of it take control. But it looks like it's the same kind of thing. We've got this gutter that runs through the middle, carrying on the theme. But the road is now not as nice as this one. This looks like the nice... Well, this is the market, so this is a nice money area. We're getting into a bit of a rougher area, possibly. It still looks quite nice. Look at this foliage. We might have a quick look at these flowers. But we've got the same thing happening. We've still got these gutters that run in between, so it's a kind of a central theme. But I can imagine that all this is doing this. It's all being done by the same thing, in the same way. So I want to see another... okay, yeah, I can see that. If we go up, we'll be able to see. Okay. So it looks like there's a general road texture, this kind of rocky texture. The rocks are almost blue, so right in the middle of the screen there, the rocks are slightly blue, and then where you see the gutters running around, you can see... Ooh, you can see it right there. I wish I could draw on screen. So right in the middle of the screen there, you see where the rocks kind of get very close and tight here? They get kind of like compressed. You can see it right there. So right in the middle of the screen it gets compressed. Right there it gets compressed. Right there it gets compressed. So that is telling... Ooh, I'm starting to understand how they've done this now. Yeah, so even on this corner you can see where there's like a vertical strip of rocks there. And then there's a vertical strip of rocks there. And this is interesting. So that's actually happened to me in my own game projects when I've done this kind of thing. I'm saying this is all built from a spline because that's how I've done this kind of stuff. And sometimes when you do this, if you make the angle of this curve too steep, it can compress some of the geometry and extend another piece of geometry. It doesn't do very neatly. Now, we're not going to notice that too much. Now that we know it's there, we can kind of see it. But if we're walking around from player view, we don't really see it that much. We don't even really see the separation between these rocks and stuff. But again, I'll do that. So where Geralt's standing right now, you can see the rocks are a bit blue, and then there the rocks are a bit more grayer. But you can really see almost like a transitional shape. We got these roads coming in. Very cool. Now again, I'm making assumptions on a lot of this, and one thing they could have done is, yes, made that through using vertex curves on a surface. They could have also vertex painted this in, using some kind of vertex painting on top of the geometry. Because vertex painting is where we can, say for instance this bit here, we can lay down the road, and then that material will have a slot open for a vertex painting. So what we can do then is have another material which is just mud, and then we can paint that information in. So that's where we get this like little mud build up here. We're losing the cobbles. So very, very cool. So let's have a look at some, now that I've kind of satiated that, let's have a look at some environmental stuff. This churchy looking place here looks quite fun. So I'll come here, hello beggars. And I will, so. This game has a lot of buildings in it. Has a lot of buildings. So what we can't do is expect them to have an individual building per building. You know, we can't build entire cities unique, so there's going to be a lot of repetition. But I do know that this game is very good with the repetition. You don't really see the same thing twice. It's just because it's built incredibly well. It's also where you're able to see, they force the player to look in certain directions. But a lot of the stuff they use is, so I think I've already seen that roof before. That roof's over there, isn't it? I think that roof, yeah, so this roof, I'm saying that because I'm seeing all the, I guess it's bird crap on top of it. Oh, that white, I believe is back there, so let's actually have a look-see. It was back here, wasn't it? Yeah, boom. Okay, I've already found one repetition. Okay, so I'll go here. Now this is geometrically the same, but texturally different, which I like. That's a good way of separating stuff. Okay. Boom, right there. Is that another one right in front of us? I think the one in front of us is kind of just doing the same thing. Oh no, there it is. Awesome. I'm starting to, so when you look for this stuff, you start to see it. And there's another one right there. Okay, right, we're starting to see it now. So this church, look at this grey building over here, and then these red brick buildings here, they're the same, kind of. But certain things are changed to make them look different. The biggest one is, that's a grey building with these more like slatey slabs, where this is a red brick building with more like bricks. So you can see the difference there. Geometrically, that's going to be the same thing. It's just the texture's different. And also what they do on the side here, so this building has got these cornerstones looking like this. This building here, you can see the cornerstones are again a bit more rougher and a bit more slatey. What's this other one doing over here? So this is, oh, it's just kind of mixing the two up. So this is more cobblestone. Yeah, okay, so that's more cobblestone, and then I think this is doing it as well. And then it turns into slatey stone. Oh, that one's, okay, no, so they're both doing it. So yeah, you got cobblestone there, slate stone there, and back there you can see cobblestone, slate stone. And doing the same thing there. That's cool. So that front of the building there has got 3 of these little church-looking archway window sections, and if we look at this building, I think it's going to be the same. Yes, the windows look the same. Okay, so they're exactly the same. It's just the textures. Now this one's a bit different because what they've done, I guess, is that's cheeky. So on the right hand side there, they've literally just got rid of that whole wall section and replaced it with another without a window. So that window's not there anymore, with this kind of little gabled window thing. But then on this left window here, what they've done is they've literally got one of these little window frame sections and put it on top of the top of this. So they're getting rid of this little archway at the top. It'll still be there a bit. It's just hidden behind another piece of geometry. Very clever. Very clever. And if you look on the side here, there's a circle window there, and there's a circle window. It doesn't make any sense now that we're looking at it. There's a circle window back there. If you look at where this brown roofed building is intersecting this building here, you can see that the circle window is there. Obviously, from a player's point of view, we're not really going to notice or see that, or even care. So right away, oh, there's another one. So that's, okay, that's slightly different. It's slightly different, but that's a similar build. That one right there. So I'm wondering if, because they got a circle window there, I'm wondering if the circle window section is modular, because it does look the same. Ish, it looks a little bit different. But I'm wondering if it's pretty modular, and then this is just a modified version of this. Ooh, the things they could have done. That's another one right behind me. Oh yeah, because it's got the two tower sections, the two kind of little archway sections there, and you got the two little archway sections there. Okay, I'm gonna go in front of this building and see if I can see anything that's the same. Okay, yeah, it's the same. And they're doing something similar again. So they've replaced the right-hand side wall with just a blank wall. This time they've got a literally smaller version. They've scaled it down. That's as cheap. That's so cheeky. So this little gable window section here is literally, it's that section on that door and that window, but they've literally just scaled it down. Because you see how the wood, the roofing tiles are smaller on this one than there. Oh, that's cheeky. I like that. That's clever. It's not clever. It's cheeky, but I like it. And they would have done something similar on this. So this little gabled window section here, it would just be another piece of geometry that they just basically choose to put in there. Because I bet there's versions of this building right in front of me here without that little gable section there. Interesting. So I've just noticed this one's got a door at the bottom here. So this is slightly taller. This is like a 4-story building. 4-story building. It's got a door there. I'm going to go over here to this building and see if I can see evidence of a door on these ones. Or what's going on. I can see a window. I can see an archway. I can see another one. Oh, that's very clever. So, yeah, these buildings are made to be these 4-story. But what are you doing up there, sir? These 4-story buildings. So what we're seeing there, oh, I'm loving this, is we're seeing the top of the archway there, and then the two. Well, we're not seeing this one here. We're not seeing this window here, but we're seeing this window here. And literally, what they've done is lowered it through the ground. Again, I wish I could go through the floor. I wish we could have like no clip mode on this. Because yeah, that we see the top of the. Oh no, we do see the window is there. Yeah, we see the move, Paul townswoman. Well, yeah, we see the top of the door there. Oh, some clipping geometry there, clipping textures. That's very cool. I like that. That's some cheekiness. And I guess we can't see anything there. Oh yes. So I don't know if you can see that right there. That's okay. Yeah. So that's the top of the door for this one. So all these are going to be the same. And oh, you know what I'm thinking? Maybe they are exactly the same, but one side's got 3 windows, and the other side's only got 2. So I bet on the opposite side of this we'll have a window on the left, a window in the middle, and then a blank wall on the right. Yep. So that's a building, and all they've done there is just change the texture to a big old slaty kind of texture here. Again, look at that. You got the window, and then you've got the door. And that one is red brick. Cool. So you build that one domicile, but even that is probably going to be made up of things that are used all over the place. So it's not like this building is all unique. This building is going to be made up of things that are going to be used in other places. For instance, that gable is so that's really cheeky. The difference they've made on that one. So this gable is the small scaled down version. And that one there on that building, just through that archway, they've literally just scaled it up. That's all they've done. So yeah, that there's going to be loads of different elements on all these buildings that are going to be used in other areas. There's probably like a set of roofs you'll use, and then a set of windows you'll use, a set of gables you'll use, and then you'll produce like a prefab version of something. So they've probably made like one version of the house with a small gable, another version of the house with a big gable. This house in front of us here. So this house in front of us here. Oh, actually that one. Is that one similar? So that's round. That's square. Okay, so we've got this roof here. See how it's... I think I found another. So we've got this roof here, which is shorter on one side. Oh. It's right in front of us. Boom, right in front of us right there. So this this roof right here, you've got it. It's lower on the right hand side. At least with the way we're looking at it, it's lower on the right hand side. entire on the left hand side. We've got the exact same building there, and we could tell because it's not even mirrored it. You've got the little, I guess it's like a loading beam when they would want to bring like stores into an upper floor somewhere. They'd have this loading beam in there, and in fact these are actually the same house because they've got the exact same tile brickwork, exactly the same tile and brickwork going on the front there. So those are exactly the same. So that's a prefab house right there. But again, I bet the same thing is happening. You've got this full 4-story house right here with all the Jimmy Jams right there, and then you've literally got the same thing here, but they've moved the house lower and hidden what would be a second floor or the first floor. That's very cool. So this, I'm going to go around the front. I'm going to go to here where that little archway is there. I'm going to go there, and I bet I see one of them little loading beams. Yep. So already we've found two houses which are identical, and they've got the same identical brickwork again. Okay, so cool, very very cool. This again isn't actually linked up to the house. This will be something which you'll find above a gate. There it is. There's one of them. Is that the same thing? That is the same one, but it's scaled down. So that is a bigger version of that there, but it's exactly the same one. Just scaled it down to, I don't know why, because you could have scaled it up and just filled in that gap, or pushed it over to the right a little bit. But there, that's just a reused version of that. Oh, it's another one. It's another one of those houses. So as you can see, once you start to look for these things, you'll see them everywhere. But because you're looking at the player's point of view, this is a third-person game. We're following the camera. Our eyes are going to be locked to the camera, locked to the player. The camera's going to be following the player. We're locked in that. We're focusing more on the things around us. Or if we're in Witcher mode, we're focusing on things on the ground more than anything. So rarely do people actually look up. Are more people on the roof? Are they fixing the roof? Oh, they must be fixing the roof. So we're not looking around a lot, up a lot. But even when we do, because this is a very compact area, we don't generally see long stretches of the same thing over and over and over and over again. So we can actually get like we are pattern recognizing machines, and when we see that kind of stuff, our brains latch onto it and go, oh okay, I've seen one of those houses before. Our brains latch onto it and go, okay, that's a pattern, I'm now recognizing that, and we kind of start to see that everywhere. But because of the way they've designed this environment, you're not seeing that kind of thing a lot, or maybe not noticing it. So now I'm noticing stuff, because I'm noticing that is one of our 3-story houses. The one house we were looking at the beginning with, again, so we've got our house. It's one of these, and then this normally has a door on it. So I bet the ones that are down across the other street, I bet this has this inside. I think maybe, oh maybe not. So maybe this one has a tunnel made for it, but the ones on the opposite side of the street might not have this tunnel, but they've got a door instead, obviously to stop us going through. But when you take the door off, you need to replace it with a tunnel like this. Or maybe it's always there and they just hide it behind a door. But yeah, that's one of them houses. These houses are the same. These 3 houses are the same. Yes, okay. Yep, they're exactly the same. Okay, so we spent a lot of time there looking at the big elements. Okay, so we know that in these big cities you're going to have a lot of different houses, but you're not going to have 10,000 unique houses. You're going to have 20 houses that you adjust, and the adjustment might just be literally changing the textures on something, because that texture right there that's in front of us is the same texture which is on the grey version of this house further down the road. And then you got that with the red brick building. So let's bring it down to the floor a little bit, and let's talk about how these environments are filled up. I mean, Witcher 3 in the cities is a great example of how to fill an area with just stuff. And if you've played any of the Witcher games, Witcher 3, you'll know that one of the plagues of the Witcher's life is being full of just rubbish that you pick up in cities, because you're always rummaging through boxes that are just full of, like, I bet this is full of like water or something. If you look in it, wire. Okay, great. Let's have a closer look at stuff. So, camera mode again. Let's have a look at some stuff. So, amphoras. Look at how basic these are, and I literally look at how basic those are. There's not really much care taken on the texturing, so you can see that you've got the round lid. This is all probably one solid piece of geometry. It's probably not doing anything cheeky like that, but the textures are probably UV'd. Not great. But again, how important is this little amphora in the grand scheme of things? So you can see right in the middle there is a texture seam running down the neck, and then you can see very clearly where the neck meets the main body. There's a texture seam, and then where the body turns from a flatter element to a more vertical element, there's a texture seam there. Oh, it's very obvious there. Very, very obvious. These jugs, now this is, okay, so we got two, okay. So we got the green jug here, and this one with I forgot what they call this, like a wicker wrap around it. They might have been the exact same piece of geometry, but just adjusted slightly to be different shapes. So they'll make one, and then they'll adjust it to make another shape. But really, it's the same thing. And I'm only saying that because they've both got handles and they both got necks. So they could have been the exact same model. That's just been slightly adjusted. Same with the UVs. They've probably not changed the UVs that much. Oh, so this wicker is being used a lot. So there'll be a texture somewhere. There's probably, so we talked about tiling textures in the Destiny video and trim sheets, and there's probably a texture for the jugs. So on that texture they've got like green clay, red clay, wicker clay, red polished clay, maybe green polished clay. So they can basically decide what they want to use, possibly. You know, I'm making assumptions here. But yeah, you can see there that they're using the exact same wicker texture on this jug, because this jug's got this jug and this jug are both the exact same geometry. One looks slightly bigger than the other, and scaled, literally just scaled up, and they've just changed the texture. Same for this guy here, this red guy and this guy below me. Exactly the same geometry, just different materials. So they probably made that, UV'd it, and then just had textures where they can basically say, right, this is the wicker texture, this is the red clay texture, this is the green clay texture. A little bottle there, really simple. This kind of stuff is so simple to make, and it's great for just filling space up. You make one of these crates. I mean, again, how simple is this? How simple. You make one of those crates, and you've got a crate for life, unless you want to do something different with it. You can make a closed crate. Look at this chest. This chest is really nice, but really simple. I noticed something before, which is quite fun. So these grain sacks here, these are actually bigger. But these are scaled down versions of them. What is this, like a veggie wrap? What is this? So this is a thing. This is a colourful thing to put in a box. Very cool. A lamp, because every place needs a lamp. Rugs. I mean, this is really simple. You can see that it is slightly geometric, the rug, but then they've just got an opacity map to control the frills around the edges. That's very, very simple. These sacks. Now these sacks are also very simple to make, because this could be a cylinder which you pull up the top to make this kind of thing here, or it could be a cube that you subdivide a couple of times to then pull up the top to make the little pinch at the top. Dead easy. These pillars, when we look at them from the top, you're going to see that they're, again, super simple. Oh, a lot higher res than I think they would be, than I thought they were going to be. But still, these are just cubes, and they've beveled the edges to make them a bit more rounder. And then they've got this quote-unquote rope wrapping around, which, if you look carefully, from afar, it looks like, you know, the rope's wrapping around. It's one solid piece of rope. Really, what that is rings, donuts of rope, to make it look like it's wrapping around. Haha, Ed's so clever. This stand is really cool. So this is like a nice bespoke ornate piece, because this is like a centerpiece, not a centerpiece, but you know, this has a little bit more work laid into it. So this is the textures are still kind of wacky. Our textures are always going to be better than this because we're making portfolio versions, but the way we can think about stuff is just the same. So where are we using the same bits of geometry? Where are we using the same textures? Where can we repeat stuff? You know, this is just a single piece of geometry with an alpha map. Possibly, actually, that might be geometric. Look at how sharp the cut is on that. So that's probably geometric, which is interesting. Again, these little sacks, these veggie wrap things, whatever the hell they are. Books. Now, books are, again, another really simple thing to make, but you could probably make one book with a bunch of different textures and then have a million books. So that little stand is really nice. Great example of what goes on. Oh, the barrel. So we talked about crates. Now we're looking at a barrel. Look at that barrel. It's so simple. Yeah, that barrel is perfectly simple. Perfectly simple. So it looks like every one of the planks is divided into two pieces of geometry. Oh, like there's a division going down the middle. So what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's 22 edges going around that barrel. Now we're going to make barrels. It's going to be one of our exercises to make a barrel to get used to modeling. But like you make one barrel, you've made a million of them. If you want to make a different kind of barrel, maybe change the texture. Maybe just change a couple of things. Make a new barrel. It takes 10 seconds. Cool. And then we've got this nice little brazier on the side here, which is fun. Okay, so that's the little thing there. So we're going to invade someone's home now. We're going to try anyway. See if we can find an open home. There we go. So we're going to look at an interior. We're going to light some candles. Look at an interior and then basically do the same thing. See where we can find some fun bits of geometry. That's locked. That's locked. Okay. Well, let's do it. Let's unlock the camera. Go. So what to say about this? I mean, it's an internal place. There'll be some houses which have pre-made internal places, you know, for places to wander into and stuff. Especially, I bet if we looked at the outside of this house and we found this house other places, I bet there'll be a lot of them are unlocked. We can go inside. And what is it inside? It's just this little area. There probably won't be a room either side of here. There'll probably be versions of these which do, but not all of them do. And you'll have like prefabricated rooms to put in behind them. But what have we got going on? Apples. Look at that, how rubbish that apple is. You can see that texture seam at the top. Can we see how that's made? Okay, so that's quite nice and simple. Actually, stuff like this candelabra here is very easy to make. Very, very, very easy. This is a really cheeky way of making these that we might explore one day. Again, books. These are going to be pretty much the same. I'm looking at the spines and I'm seeing that there is a single division going around the spine to give a little bit of curve. And these are probably the exact same geometry that they've just scaled to be different sizes and then swapped out the geometry, swapped out the texture. Again, you'll only do different books for big changes. I mean, look at that. Look at how basic those books are. You'll only do big changes for big special books. Oh, you know, we've got the jugs are back. Lots of jugs. Okay, so that candle. Oh, it's a different candelabra, but again, so simple to make that. So simple to make. These cushions, incredibly simple to make. Because this is a. You can start one of these cushions off as just a flat plane, and then you make one half look like it's puffy, and then you just duplicate it around and merge it, and then you've got a cushion. Very, very simple to make. Because then you can UV it and give it the same texture front and back. So you'd basically think about it the same way you would think about an actual cushion. You know, if you de-stitch it, you'd have a top piece and a bottom piece, or a front and a back piece. So you basically make one side, and you just make it out of a flat plane. Give it enough division, so you can actually pull some vertexes out and make it look like it's got geometry. And then you'd basically duplicate it, flip the other side, merge them together, and then you've got a cushion. And you know, it's perfect. It takes you no time at all. Scatter them around. Now obviously the walls are a little bit more ornate, but all these walls will be the same. Ooh, texture seam. All these walls will be the same. Will be made as one strip, or maybe I think they're made in twos like this. They make like this is a piece, and then you duplicate over to make this, and then you would like you'd make that piece there, and then you duplicate it over to make that piece, and then you duplicate that up to make that piece, and then you would separate them with these dividers here, because yeah, you got two pieces there, and these will all be the same. I'm always looking for those texture seams. You can see that line running across the middle of it. I'm always looking for those texture seams. Okay, this one they've been a bit cheeky to kind of hide it. They've offset it, so the texture seam is right there in the middle, right there. But this one I reckon they've hidden the other half of this panel inside the wall, and they basically offset it like you do with bricks. So then you don't see the texture seams there lining up with each other, but then you'll have the texture seam there. Interesting. That's terrible. Look at that. So the texture's completely balked right there. Probably because it's the exact same geometry as that, but they've dragged one side in, so it's a lot shorter, a lot thinner, but they've not re-UV'd it. So what we're looking at there is UVs that have been crushed. Now, only across the horizontal though, because we're not changing the vertical shape of anything. We're only changing the horizontal shape of something. And then the middle, I think because that's far more noticeable, they've gone through and re-UV'd the middle of it, and they've chosen a point on that texture to have, but that little section there hasn't been UV'd. Interesting. Yeah, so lots of really, really fun stuff. Oh, 37 minutes. Lots of really, really fun stuff to look at. Hello. Oh, I think we're underwater. I think that little bug has appeared once again. Yep. So that water bug has once again reared its ugly head. So I'll go somewhere, save it, and then I'll close it. But we'll talk a bit more while we're going. And in fact, where do I want to go? I want to go somewhere grand. But can I go? It's got a grand area. Or in fact, you know what? We've looked at a lot of really nice stuff. So these are really nice examples of, you'll make one of these pillars, of one of these archways, and you just duplicate it and change the texture, and you got a different archway. And these are just dead simple. Again, we're dealing with the similar thing with the streets before. You got the gutter running down the middle, and this is literally probably just the exact same way they did the roads in the other building, or the other part of the city, just a bit neater, because obviously this is, the higher we go, the more posher we are. This is a nice part of town, I think. But yeah, oh, there he goes. So I'll pause the video, I'll come back. So here we are in Valen. So I was going to go to somewhere grand and stuff, but because I can't trust this game, and my OBS is acting weird, we're in Valen. And Valen's a really nice one because a lot of these environments are kind of shitty. But this is reflecting. So we've gone to Novigrad, and Novigrad is very kind of built up. It's a very nice city with the different levels of affluence. Valen is pretty much all crap. But the great thing is it's got a really nice combination of both the foliage and the housing. So let's have a look at some of these housings and some of these environments. So we're in mid-cops at the minute, but I think I might need to go to another town because this is a little bit... I'll go to the castle. And hopefully this is recording. I'm a bit paranoid that this isn't recording. Castle Grayskull, where are you? Castle Village. There we go. Oh, and it's a lovely night. So I will just meditate in the morning. There you go. So yeah, so this is an overall different aesthetic, and I guess this is quite a nice place to look at because this is like a focal area. It's not super built up like Novigrad is. It's a bit more of a focal area, so you've got a few unique elements. Like this building right here is a unique element. This building here is a unique element, but you've still got some repetition. But also, it's very old-fashioned. It's got like mud huts. It's got a lot of thatching. A lot of fun stuff to look at. So let's have a look at this barren. So let's see if we can find that. Let's analyze. Let's investigate. See if we can see anything repetitious in this. So I'm going to look back at this building behind me as well to see if I can find anything that is similar. Can I even go in that building anymore? I don't know. Okay, so I think the roofing is pretty much unique. The textures won't be, so the texture will still be this thatched texture just reused. So maybe the roof sections are the same. So I'm trying to look at the brick sections as well. So no, some of this looks more unique. We've still got modular elements, but I think this is a proper unique modular build. Unique modular is a bit of an oxymoron. So we've got these little pillar sections here and here, little pillar sections. And I've got these little pillar sections here. So what I might be looking at here is pillar sections there. Is what is going on with that texture? I've got to investigate that closer. Is that's not how bricks work. That is not how bricks work whatsoever. And Garrot's doing a jig apparently. So what I'm looking at here is possibly just a flat wall, and they've chosen window sections. Or they've chosen this section. You'll probably find this in other cities as well. And then they've broken it up by bringing in these little column sections individually. So this is probably like a prefab made thing where you can basically say, okay, I'm going to bring you one of these. Yeah, I can't really see anything that is the same on both of these. Okay, well let's break it down. Let's break this building down anyway. So yeah, you're looking at like flat sides here. So this is a unique build. This will be built for purpose for this. It's like there's only one of these in the game, kind of thing. So you've got a wall here, and you might have got. So looking at it here, okay. Well, the distance between these two window slats and these two window slats isn't the same, but they've still got the same window slats, and they've still got this archway thing here. So those are both similar, but the way they've positioned them is a little bit different. So interesting. So yeah, they might have to build this proper bespoke. Okay. So they've got a wall. They've chosen to use the same kind of window slats on both of them, and these might be pre-made anyway. But they basically brought it in and gone, okay, I'm going to put one there, put one there, put one there, put one there. I'm going to make a bit of distance between these two, less distance between these two, but the textures here are exactly the same because this terrible texture is the same as this terrible texture. Okay, yeah, and then they've broken up that monotony by putting in these pillars, so this column, and this column, and then this column. Between here, they've literally just got the end of a wall and taken out this bit, put a door frame in there. Can we see this door frame anywhere else? Probably not. Is it over there? No. So it will be somewhere, but I can't see a version of this door frame anywhere. And this wall here, again, it's a flat... Is it a flat wall? Yep, it's a flat wall. But then these little beams that stick out, these are actually geometric. So I'm looking at the way they intersect. And you can see there's a little bit of 3D shape there, where the two pot columns intersect. But the shape's coming from this thing on the right here, this end cap, with all the little end grains on it. So this might be like a prefab shape. If you think back to the Destiny 2 environment video, there was the doors that were in that super sci-fi area. So this might be like something that's already been pre-made. They'll get out the toy box and put it in, and then build walls around it. Okay, so I'm looking at these two. So these look different. I think they're built in the same style, but they're actually two separately built things. But again, we could be building these from like planks and individual pieces. So this plank here is a separate piece of geometry, and this plank here going across is a separate piece of geometry. And these are all. So this piece is probably like a 3D shape that's made to give it that. Because I'm looking again where they intersect. That's probably like one solid shape that's made to give the impression of multiple planks, and I guess the same is going to be from down here. I think so, because I can't see there's a plank in the way there, but... So that could be the same piece of geometry that they just literally cut a bit off. I can't see any textures that are the same on it, but oh, actually, you know what? Maybe. So it could be the same piece of geometry that they just cut this one a bit shorter to give it this height. Yeah, so a bit more difficult to break down and analyze, but a lot of the same stuff is happening here. It's just because it's a very kind of rickety building, and it's an important building in the storyline, that at least it is a little bit. So I'm thinking maybe this column, this wall here, for instance, is one piece that they would bring in on their own. This wall here would be one piece to bring on. So each one of these wall panels is almost like a thing they bring in and slot in, and then they hide it with these corner pieces, because this corner piece can sit over the top of this wall section and this wall section, hiding whatever corner is going to be in the middle, any issues in the middle. Same thing's going to be happening here. So basically, you've got this wall section, and you've got this wall section. Or maybe these wall sections are 3D. No, they're not. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so I'm looking at the end grain of these, and so on the right hand side there, I can see the end grain of the planks that are coming in from the left, but none of them actually match up. So this seam that's going across here, if we follow that, it doesn't actually match up with the piece on the end. So these end grains here are a thing on their own. So yeah, this is probably a flat piece of wall. Oh, there is a bit of 3D-ness to it. You can see there is a bit of 3D to it. Okay. Yeah, so this is probably a flat wall made to look like many different planks. It's just a one wall with divisions in to make it look like a plank. Same one for this. This is probably one wall. And then they put two of these little corner pieces on at the end to make it look like you've got the planks coming in from two sides. This wall texture here for the brick is probably one solid wall texture that they then put planks on top of to hide, to basically just break it up. I just want to look at that over in the other building. So we'll stop looking at that building for now. I've noticed something on this building. Get closer so I can get closer. Oops, typing in the dark. There we go. So this would have been nice if it was like a different texture to kind of stand out a bit more, but what I'm looking at is this little bit of brick that sticks out, casting these shadows, and what I'm seeing is it the same? Okay, yeah, so that's probably there. That probably matches up there. It does match up. So I'm looking at these little bricks that stick out. They're not as unique as I thought. They're not as they are more unique than I thought they were. Interesting. So that looks like they've just literally got a section of the building there, extruded down, then extruded down again. It's kind of a bit dirty. I've noticed this as well. So this from a distance looks like a crack in the wall. Looks like a really nice crack in the wall. But actually when you get close up to it, it's just like a really shitty texture. That's dirty. That's clever. That's cheeky. That's interesting because you never, unless you unlock the camera, you're never really going to get that close up to it. So from a distance, it looks like a crack in the wall, but really it's not. Something's going on with the side of the wall there. So this wall might actually have some geometry to it, have some depth to it. It might just not be a flat plane. It might have a bit of depth to it. And then they've made it look a little bit wriggledy on the edges, just bringing in individual bricks, probably pulling textures from this texture anyway, but bringing individual bricks in to just make them look a little bit more staggered on the edge, so some bricks are sticking out. So this is going to be a unique building as well. Again, these are important buildings in the beginning of the story, so they'll want to make these to look a little bit more important, spend a bit more time with them. You do spend a lot of time in this house at the beginning, or with this dude anyway. Okay, yeah, so there is a lot to analyze on that one. These are all like uniquely built environments though, so you see more places where they're actually building. They might be building in the engine, or they might be building in whatever they're building, Maya or 3ds Max or whatever. They might be building in that and then bringing it in as like a unique object, rather than something that, you're not going to see this house anywhere else. You're not going to see this barn anywhere else. You only see it in this town, in Castle Village. Same for this house back there. It might be like all these big houses might be like unique, but we'll go down to the main village of Castle Village. Now, actually, while we're here, let's see if we can kind of work out what's going on with the ground around here. Okay, so we might have something similar to what's happening in the cities, where we've got maybe a spline is being made to control the the well-worn parts, these sandy parts of the path. Maybe that's what's happening there. Or I don't think these... Well, it could be. Again, I don't know the engine this is built on. So I don't believe it's Unreal anyway. But in Unreal, we could vertex paint these paths in. Or we could create a spline that has material attached to it that could give the impression of these paths. It could be some cool shader thing that's been built for the engine. For the game. Okay, so as we go down, again, beautiful looking game. Okay, so now we're in a place where you're going to see a lot of repetition, but they hide it very well because they'll have, again, I'm assuming that they might possibly have, obviously all the houses pre-made. But then the stuff that goes on around it, like, this one's got a stall on the outside. This one's got a chicken coop on the outside. Oh, I've triggered something. Where's my gold? You telling me willing or am I going to have to kill someone? One's got a chicken coop on the outside. One's got some dude, you know, doing some fletching on the outside. Those might be built in like off engine, or maybe built in the engine in like a separate scene, then basically saved out to bring into another scene, or they might be built in a different software. I'm gonna have to kill someone. Or am I killing someone? Yes. Yeah, they might be built in this in a different engine, like Maya, like 3ds Max. Die. There we go. Like Maya, like 3ds Max. Built as a prefab essentially, then brought in. I don't know. I think the easiest thing would be to do is to basically have your house on its own, and then you'd have all the stuff around it separately. And you'd bring it in. You'd set this house up, and then maybe one person's job is to bring all the initial houses in, following like a path, a plan, and then another person's job will be to come in and give life to it. So all these houses that you can go into, that'll just be like an empty shell, and then it'll be a person's job to come in there and fill it out with stuff. And another person's job would be to, you know, set up a little like wash basin section here. That's alright, love. I just killed someone. It's not fine. Like a little laundry section. You've got your chicken coop here, which might actually come. It might come with this. The chicken coop fencing might come with this. I'm not sure. Again, I'm making assumptions. You know, some stuff I really like, and it's small detail stuff, is the fact that you've got like a little bit of a fence system here to stop, I guess, part of the floor here from collapsing and possibly, you know, it's giving you a bit of structure. I like that. It's a tiny little bit of detail, and same there as well. A little bit of detail, but that's just such simple geometry. But it's just thinking about it. It's just like that level of thinking, which I love. And then around the entire camp here, you've got this wall, which would literally just be prefabricated chunks of wall. You're not going to bring in every individual pyre going in. You're going to be bringing in chunks of geometry, which is going to be like 5 to 10 to 20 of these pyres set up. Or spikes, I should say. Pikes, not spike, not pyre. There we go. Pikes. Like 20 of these pikes in a row, or 5 of these pikes in a row, to basically make the path going round. What can we see about the paths around here, actually? Talk about paths. Okay, similar stuff. So I'm thinking, yeah, there's probably some kind of fancy material engine work going on to make the path look like it's got tracks and treads. I think them planks there are helping it. And then you'll have, let's say it's a spline, creating these other paths going around like little foot-worn paths. And then you'll see this, if you play the game, you'll see these paths, you'll see these bridges a lot. And in fact, I think this is the same bridge. No, it's not quite the same bridge, but you'll see this bridge set up a lot. And it might be that this bridge comes in a full set, so you get both sides, or it comes in a half set, so you can choose, you know, if this bridge goes to nowhere, you can choose to basically, you know, end the bridge. Whoop. But again, that'll probably be made up of, you know, you'll make 2 or 3 versions of these logs. I can already see 2 or 3 versions just looking here. You'll make 2 or 3 versions of these logs, and then you'll just make this. You'll never make this in the engine, or you'll never make it here. You might make it in the engine, but in a different scene. There are things that you can like bring other things in, make a little cluster, a little group of them, and then save that group out as a prefab, is what we call it. Possibly, or you know, I'm making assumptions. I unfortunately didn't work on this game, but I'll leave it there for this one. A lot of the same stuff is happening inside here that we saw inside Destiny, and that we will see inside other games. It's just done a little bit differently because of that checklist. You know, it's around the same kind of time period, but it's a single-player, high graphical intensity, slow-paced game, where Destiny is a multiplayer, mid-graphical intensive, mid-realism, fast-paced game. I think I said fast-paced for Witcher 3, sorry, slow-paced game for Witcher 3. But we see similar things, and you'll see the same things in modern-day games and games that are even older. The difference is that you can hide things better these days than you can back then, because we've got more data, more of a budget to play with in our data. we can hide things a bit better. But if you go back, you can find some like Skyrim. Go play Skyrim and look at the environments in Skyrim. They're terrible. Back in the day, that was a benchmark game, and that's about 15 years old now. Maybe even getting towards 20 years old. I think. But yeah, that's another video for us, and OBS has been acting a bit funky, so hopefully this full video is here. But I'll see you in the next one.